Republicans are getting ready to cut a lot from Medicare.
Well, you call it cuts.
A precedent who made up a story about bone spurs.
There's a huge able-bodied population in this country that should not be on welfare. That is a true story.
Okay, first of all,
well, that's
welfare,
actually not true.
Hold on.
We have another CNN panel to look at, this time talking about Elon Musk and Doge as he doubles down on cutting entitlements. So buckle in for the ride and be sure to first stop and hit that like button for us. Helps our video get out there more than you could imagine, and let's jump right in.
I'll tell you what is bad and what is not patriotic is calling Mark Kelly a traitor. He called him a traitor today for having gone and visited Ukraine, which many Republicans and Democrats in Congress and in the Senate have done in the last several years. Mark Kelly is a naval aviator. He flew missions in the Gulf War. He has logged over 5,000 hours flying for the Navy. He then went on to be the pilot for the space shuttle. He serves in Congress. Elon Musk has absolutely no right, who has never served this country, who serves a precedent, who made up a story about bone spurs so he could avoid the draft, has absolutely no right to call Mark Kelly, who is a patriot, who has served this country to the point of risking his life, and calling him a traitor. That is something we should all condemn.
Yeah, we literally now have billionaires, Republican billionaires, feeling entitled enough to publicly insult veterans and call them things like traitors. I love that for MAGA, fighting the establishment is like righteous billionaires defending workers from the woke professors or Democrats and disparaging veterans along the way. Like the fan fiction you have to be bought into for that to hit for you is crazy. Elon Musk, whose billion-dollar companies have paid $0 in taxes multiple years, 2022, 2024, that has had secret conversations with Vladimir Putin that he refuses to disclose and supports general bone spurts for president, is trying to cut your grandparents' Medicaid, has said in a clip that he thinks all entitlement spending like Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. It should be cut, probably Medicare as well. We're going to pretend that he's the patriot and the veteran isn't? When does reality hit for MAGA? Like, I thought they were supposed to care about veterans.
So if you look on the Doge board, it just shows how much they're cutting from the federal government. How about a board that shows how long passport times are taking, that shows how quickly people in the Veterans Affairs are getting their benefits? That's what people actually care about. And if he does that board and shows that he's making progress on that, that's showing that government is actually working for people. I think everyone here can get behind that.
Scott?
I think on the entitlement issue, which you played, the president is in charge. He has made it perfectly clear he is not touching Social Security, Medicare, and even Medicaid, other than to say if there is fraud in any program, he'd like to root out the fraud. That's period. He's the president. The buck stops with the president.
Okay, first, I love how the Democrats' idea for Doge is 10 times better than anything Elon's ever done or proposed. Like, that was a really good idea. But the problem is waste and fraud is just a smokescreen for spending that they don't like. And they're already setting the stage. Trump is spreading the debunked claim about how those over 150 years old are getting Social Security checks. Absolutely not true. And they're laying off around 12% of Social Security employees. What do you think happens to the efficacy of an agency when you lay off employees when it's already understaffed? There's the food stamp cuts. There's the 80,000 plan to be fired from the VA, another understaffed agency. $880 billion being cut from Medicaid. I mean, what are you talking about? That Trump isn't going after entitlements. And Trump has also already ran on defunding Social Security before through permanently ending the payroll tax, something he temporarily did under COVID, which he then ran on doing in 2020. Thank God he lost. It would render Social Security useless within years. It would have the trust fund depleted by 2026. He was just smart enough to not mention that that's what the payroll tax defunding would do.
Republicans are getting ready to cut a lot from Medicare.
Well, you call it cuts. They're calling it could be slowing the growth of the program or rooting out fraud, but that's different than cuts.
Here's the reason. Here's the reason I have a lot.
$880 million worth of fraud.
Yeah, and I have a lot of reason to doubt what you're saying because
Come on, man.
when
let me tell you something. There's a huge able-bodied population in this country that should not be on welfare. That is a true story.
Okay, first of all,
well, that's
welfare,
actually not true.
Hold on a second. Welfare is not the biggest driver of this, actually. But what I'm saying is that Doge has put all this money on the board, and they've said, oh, this is waste, fraud, and abuse. And when you really look at it, they're just programs that Elon and the president and random 20-something-year-olds don't like. So when you say fraud and abuse, there's not a lot of evidence.
The first word is usually waste, and they consider it to be waste.
Do you think
they are not actually doing that. When Congress authorizes money for a program or a program is duly authorized, that's not waste, fraud, and abuse. That's just something you don't like.
Okay, let's try to go one for one with these points. Republicans are trying to slash $880 billion from Medicaid. That is the entire yearly federal budget for Medicaid. This funds 42% of births, almost all nursing home and long-term senior care, health insurance for those in poverty. The idea that you should even have to work to be insured because you're too poor to otherwise afford it is insane. But it's also not even true. Also, the idea that there's $880 billion in fraud that they're cutting, like all of it is fraud, it hardly even needs addressed with how obviously untrue that is. But if it was even, don't you then just reinvest that waste into the actual like efficient parts of the program, not just use it to fund tax cuts? And Abby's point was the exact one that I was trying to make. It's all just spending or programs that the president doesn't agree with, congressionally appropriated funds as well. So not waste, not fraud, not abuse. Couldn't fit into any of those categories. They're used because these are arbitrarily vague phrases that they can just use as a catch-all to things they don't like. And, you know, if they attach woke or DEI or that it was trans to it, it helps it even more. And those online who are ready to carry water for, well, literally anything they do can use it to pretend that, well, they're doing something righteous when they steal your grandparents' health care and Social Security and use it to give Elon Musk more tax cuts for his jets and Tesla. And so his other billion-dollar companies can get millions of dollars back on their tax returns.